and sit down.
Alright. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of More Content Talk. That's the only show that cuts through the glam, the glitz, and all the bullshit to bring you the truthiest news that we can find. And tonight, I am going to do something that I often do, which is clarify some of my past points, and go into a bit more depth and provide you with the reason why I think that moderate politics is not the solution to anything. I'm going to draw from a historical account of the Holocaust. I'm doing that because I don't think that many people in the world today understand how the Holocaust unfolded properly. It is essentially glossed over in school as a brief period of time that was very evil, and this kind of dark cloud that overshadowed Christian history. And that's wrong for a few reasons. First of all, you can get into the history of the Crusades and all that, which is its own valid argument. I'm not going to focus so much on that part tonight. What I want to talk about is this concept that I hear all the time, that this was just, a few bad actors and, brainwashing and this odd kind of mishmash of these people who, for the most part, were just German citizens, which is already odd because the whole of Germany was Nazi Germany, so you say German citizen during the reign of Nazi Germany, obviously you mean Nazi, but whatever, let's throw that out. But you can already begin to see in the beginning they're taking this very apologetic approach to it and saying, well, it was just these dirty socialists who decided to, or atheist types who decided to revolt. Complete bullshit. Not what happened at all. As you'll see, the vast majority of Germans kind of were quite excited when the Jews began to be persecuted. And you'll see that by my reading of at least a bit of this article. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read some of it for context of the things that I'm talking about. And to demonstrate how passivity and looking the other way and ignorance and just allowing everyone to get what they like all the time can actually be quite dangerous. Freedom is not just, okay, well, let's leave everyone alone. There's more to it than that. It takes some maintaining. You get bullies. And there's always bullies everywhere. And they need to be controlled. These people need structure. Yes, they do. Bullies need rules. Now, if you're a grown adult who's not bothering anyone, perhaps you don't. Perhaps you're correct. Because I meet people, right? And these are good people, and they're nice people, and they're able to do all these things. Wonderful for you. You cannot assume that everyone is going to be like that, though. Some people are going to take advantage of their freedoms, and they're going to use them against the people that they dislike in order to obtain superior freedoms that other people don't have. That's what's going on in the rise of nationalism today that you see. Remember, it's the National Socialist Party, right? And remember that the nationalists combined with the socialists, okay? And that the socialists, the real socialists, were pushed out, and that this was a puppet socialist party to begin with in Nazi Germany. So when you hear this talk of socialism and atheism and all this stuff, is nonsense. And you had a completely complicit Christian church in the Holocaust. Completely complicit. With perhaps a few people who rose up and said no. But those were very few. That was very rare. And you had a German society that was complicit. every average day, Joes and Janes and, I don't know what else, whatever, were complicit because of their passivity, because of their moderate approach. Allowing each side at the table always is not always the answer. This article is called Kristallnacht, the legal status of the bystander. Kristallnacht must be viewed as the bitter prelude to the Holocaust. In the words of Hermann Goering, I would not want to be a Jew in Germany. According to the historian Martin Gilbert, Kristallnacht was the culmination of more than 5 years and 9 months of systematic discrimination and persecution. Jews, who comprised less than 1% of Germany's pre-World War II population, were singled out by the Nazi regime as the enemy. The exclusion of Jews was largely met by passivity from the population at large, whereas former colleagues and neighbors took advantage of the situation to their benefit. Professor Raul Hilberg refers to such individuals as beneficiaries, distinct from bystanders. It is a matter of debate among historians whether the Jewish population fully appreciated the significance regarding the change in their circumstances. It is clear that the overwhelming majority did not recognize the horrific fate that awaited them. You hear that? The overwhelming majority of them they weren't aware. They didn't see it coming. No one ever sees it coming. Always remember that. If there's one thing you take away from this talk, no one ever thinks it will happen to them. That's very important. That, however, does not excuse the complicity of the bystander. Complicity of the bystander. Complicit. That is how history will remember you. Complicit. What were the people who didn't own slaves but lived in the South and dealt with slave owners? Complicit. You can't have it your cake and eat it too. I won't let you mince words. Either you're complicit or you're not. You're against it. One or the other. There's no in the middle. What are you, compensed it? What the fuck are you talking about? Out of here with that. Gilbert tells us that during those 2 days, November 9th and 10th, 1938, hundreds of thousands danced in wild frenzy while millions watched approvingly. Did you hear that? This is Nazi Germany, 1938. Ironically enough, the year my father was born. Hundreds of thousands danced in wild frenzy, while millions watched approvingly. In other words, there were eyewitnesses in every corner of the Reich. As ordinary German citizens, or Nazis, either directly participated in or passively condoned a horrific orgy of violence against Jews, their property, and their synagogues. The condoning, much less participating in unrestrained violence against German Jews by non-Jewish Germans, is the essence of tolerating intolerance. It is an absolute violation of the social compact and vividly highlights the extraordinary danger to the vulnerable in the face of the bystander's passivity. You think you're doing good by just keeping out of it. Let me just keep out of it, right? You see someone getting bullied on the playground, you say, let me just stay out of it. I don't want no trouble, man. What you're really doing is a kind of weak form of condoning. You allow these things to happen. They become normalized. And the next thing you know, you have a dumb fuck president who's screaming at you about the evil Jewish people or the evil black people. Because this is how brutes work. Called brute force for a reason. They're not gonna come to the table. You know what they're going to do? They're going to pick the table up. When you sit down in that fucking chair and you're at that table together, you moderate son of a bitch, and you're not paying attention to what that man says, he's going to pick that table up, he's going to smash it over your head, and he's going to say, you better fucking listen to me, you little asshole. That's what people like Hitler, Stalin, Mao, that's how they operate. They get you at the table first, and then they whack you over the head with the table. Or stab you in the back, whatever you like. You're not smart. You're not as smart as you think you are with this bullshit. Moderate, moderate, moderate. Kristallnacht did not occur in a vacuum. The Nazi regime's relentless emphasis on racial policy, focusing on the improvement of race and racial hygiene, targeting habitual criminals, the handicapped. Are you hearing this list? Listen to this list. Habitual criminals, the handicapped, homosexuals, and gypsies, much less Jews, was implemented through a variety of means, including sterilization and eugenics. Hitler's demonization of the Jews resulted in their delegitimization. This is very important. Hitler's demonization of the Jews resulted in their delegitimization. This is exactly what's going on with black people today. A delegitimization. Every complaint you have, everything you say when you're black, oh, you're exaggerating, you're virtue signaling, you're a little piece of shit, shut the fuck up, I don't want to hear it anymore. That's delegitimization. If not dehumanization, as they were. Clearly, consistently and loudly defined as enemies of the German state. Exactly what Trump was doing with the Antifa bullshit and the Black Lives Matter and saying they're terrible people. Same thing. The Nazification of society required systematic synchronization of all institutions in accordance with Nazi ideology, demanding absolute loyalty to the regime and the Führer. The norm, as articulated primarily by Hitler, Himmler, Goering, Goebbels, and Heydrich, was that Jews endangered the very survival of Germany and of the Aryan world. Erasing the shame of the Treaty of Versailles was of paramount importance, if not unadulterated obsession. Hitler's anti-Semitism was intoxicating, hysterical, and remarkably effective. His speeches were electric, charismatic, and unsophisticated. Unsophisticated. That's key. They're not supposed to be sophisticated. They're supposed to sound lower level so that they can then say, see, they're making fun of the way I talk. I told you those guys, they're snooty, they're stuck up. It's a political device. It's very easy to do. The themes were consistent. Jews were to be blamed for Germany's defeat in World War I, for Germany's failed experiment with democracy in the aftermath of World War I, and for Germany's failed economy. The concepts reflected basic principles of fascism, nationalism, and racism. Hitler would return Germany to its glorious roots. You hear that? The good old days. I did an episode on it. The good old days. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to the good old days. Stupid. The regime benefited from the passivity of the church, as every regime does. As Professor Friedlander writes, during the decisive days, no bishop, no church, dignitary, no synod made any open declaration against the persecution of Jews in Germany. None. Not one. Not one in the early days. None. Spineless cowards, all of them. Can you look your history in the face? In the words of Berlin Bishop Otto Dieblus, in a confidential Easter missive to provincial pastors, one cannot ignore that Jewry has played a leading role in all the destructive manifestations of modern civilization. Jews were literally and figuratively systematically squeezed out of the social contract. Their unmitigated vulnerability manifests the consequences of society identifying a particular group as the other, with no duty owed to mitigate the inevitable disaster that awaited members of the group who were, it must be recalled, German citizens. German citizens. It can happen here, folks. It can happen here. All that has to occur is this process of delegitimization. And we're seeing that go on with the black people. Black people. We see it go on all the time, just getting shot in the street. And I sincerely believe that the possibility for genocide is there. Go on and laugh at me if you like. I'm sure a lot of people laughed at these Jewish people. I'm sure a lot of them were just like, oh, they're always complaining all the time. You see that? As they, you heard millions of Germans watched as these people were beaten approvingly, and some of them, hundreds of thousands, joined in. Not some, that's a lot. But millions watched approvingly, and millions remained passive. Fuck moderate politics. We don't need that. We need to stand up to bullies and to stand up for ourselves and for each other. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me here on More Content Talk. This was a very important talk to me. If you'd like to see more, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel at More Content Talk. You can find us on our website. If you go to our page on Anchor, you will find our a link to our website, along with a place where you can sponsor us. You can also make a donation on our Patreon page if you're so inclined, so I can keep bringing the news to you in a no bullshit way. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever you're having. And remember, whenever life gets you down, you can always laugh at something else. Farewell, everyone. Have a